On a wild ride to reveal the most popular episodes of The Most Extreme. We're counting down the top 20 animals that fought, jumped, loved, or cheated their way to the top of their episode. And then we'll compare them to human attempts to enter the record books. Each animal was number one, but now they're up against each other. Find out which animal had the most viewers to become the best of the best.
Earth is a planet of extremes, extreme places, and extreme animals. But some animals are more extreme than others. Join us as we count down what you found to be the most unusual and the most extraordinary on Animal Planet's Most Extreme Special Ever. It's time to reveal the best of the best. Our countdown begins with an animal that leapt over all other contenders to become our number one most extreme jumper.
You don't have to travel far to find the animal that's hiding at number 20 in the countdown. In fact, it's often too close for comfort. It can spend months waiting patiently for entomologists like Ruud Kleinpass to return home from vacation. Vibrations on the floorboard signal the time to leap into action. The most extreme jumper in the world is the flea. A leap of 13 inches may be one small jump for a bug, but it's one giant leap for mankind. We're talking a leap that's 220 times your body length. With the superpowers of a flea, we'd be able to clear the Brooklyn Bridge. That's nearly a quarter of a mile. But a flea can also jump more than 150 times its own height. That's like jumping over not one, but two Statues of Liberty, more than 700 feet. So what makes fleas such extreme jumpers?
Well, they don't use muscle power like we do. Their legs act more like a catapult. You see, the flea stores its energy in a pad with resin. Now, that's one of the most elastic materials known on this planet. And it winds this pad up. And when it pulls the trigger, pow! It releases all this energy at once, and the flea jumps away.
With such incredible powers, it's no wonder that people are prepared to pay to see performing fleas. Roll up to Maria Cardosa's traveling flea circus. And here are the stars, 300 highly trained fleas. Training begins by looping a tiny wire around the body, for no fleas are harmed for this performance. Once harnessed, the fleas are natural performers. They can be trained to follow the carbon dioxide breath of their trainers, jump towards the heat of a lamp, and even sway to the vibrations of the tango.
Your first act, the tango fleas.
It's lucky that fleas are used to traveling at enormous speeds.
3, 2, 1, go! La pulga pala! 3, 2, 1, jump! Fantastic!
And like performers the world over, At the end of the show, the fleas like to kick back, put their feet up, and have something to drink.
The flea may have landed at #1 in the most extreme jumpers, but more people were itching to see the animal from the show ranked 19th in our countdown of the most popular episodes. The Einstein of the natural world was the animal we thought had the most extreme smarts.
This is the Kia, a mountain parrot that lives in the southern Alps of New Zealand. This bird is one of the best because when it comes to intelligence, the Kia is top of the class. As a part of an international test of animal IQ, the Kia was challenged with a 7-stage puzzle. To get the food, it had to pull levers, push buttons, turn handles, and pull out a wooden cart. Up against the best brains in the animal kingdom, the parrot couldn't wait to get started. In a little over a minute, the parrot won the food and the competition. But the cleverness of a Kia comes as no surprise. The parking lots of ski fields in their mountain homes are full of similar 7-stage puzzles. And Kia just love the chance to work things out. Or off. In these mountains, it's the Kia's playful curiosity that gives them the edge. That's how they discovered that shearwater burrows contain nutritious meals. Unfortunately, a young Kia also has to learn that making an omelet isn't as easy as it looks. Thanks to a remarkable brain and a beak like a Swiss Army knife, the Kia can crack even this puzzle. But when it comes to smart parrots, one really stands out from the flock. Meet Alex, the resident bird brain at the University of Arizona, where he's worked with Dr. Irene Pepperberg for more than 20 years.
How many green block? 4. Good boy. What matter? Paper. Good boy. Okay, what matter? Whoa. Whoa, very good boy.
The parrot's pretty clever for an animal with a brain the size of a walnut, which is why it was top of the class in our show on the most extreme smarts. But more people tuned in to the episode ranked 18th in our countdown special. Here, the top contender only had a brain the size of a pinhead, but it was still smart enough to become the most extreme builder.
To find the tallest buildings in the world, all you have to do is travel to any big city on the planet. Humans like to build skyscrapers, enormous monuments of our power and wealth. The Empire State Building may be impressive with its 102 floors, but there's one creature that builds on an even bigger scale. Imagine if the most extreme builder in the countdown was the same size as a human. They'd make a skyscraper 4 times the size of the Empire State Building. Only the building would be empty, since these builders live in the basement, all 5 million of them. The Empire State Building of the Animal Kingdom is found on the plains of Africa. Standing 20 feet tall, this mighty tower is the most extreme structure in the natural world. But its construction workers live deep underground. The most extreme builders on the planet are termites. What they lack in size, they make up for in sheer numbers. The enormous queen can give birth every 15 seconds, so there's no shortage of workers to help construct their massive home. And they need all the help they can get, because for termites, building is a very messy business. That's because the entire termite tower is made from a mixture of saliva, dirt, and dung. And they have to mix it all together in their mouths. It may not be pretty, but this plaster sets like concrete and can be molded into extraordinary design features like air conditioning systems, covered walkways, and gardens. But there's not a single window, for termites are blind. In Egypt, there are also huge windowless buildings. But at least the workers who made the pyramids didn't have to chew mouthfuls of dirt and dung. Instead, they invented the first form of concrete, which has survived for more than 4,000 years. It took only 30 years to build the Great Pyramid, yet it remained the tallest building on Earth until 1889. It's hard to imagine that a building that towers over the Statue of Liberty could be made from blocks of solid stone. The blocks weigh about 2 tons, and there are more than 2.5 million in the pyramid. With our modern building techniques, that's enough stone to make more than 40 Empire State Buildings.
Perhaps if termites built with stone instead of spit and excrement, they'd be ranked a little higher in our countdown of the best of the best. So far, we've seen termite towers, brainy birds, and fantastic fleas. But the race to reveal the best of the most extreme continues with a horror that can spend 30 years living inside you. Our countdown of the most popular episodes of The Most Extreme continues with the show ranked number 17. This starred an animal that chewed past all other contenders to become the world's most extreme glutton.
Just imagine if you had a baby that ate as much as the most extreme glutton on the planet. Your baby would eat 1,000 times its own weight in only 2 months. That would be like eating the equivalent weight of 3 blue whales, some 300 tons of baby food. And all that eating would make your baby grow 80,000 times bigger. In 8 weeks, your baby would weigh more than the Statue of Liberty. The most extreme glutton in the world is the caterpillar. Millions of gardeners around the world have suffered at the mouths of hungry caterpillars, including professional bugman Ruud Kleinpast.
Caterpillars are basically nothing more than giant feeding machines. If you look at their body, it consists of body fluids and a little bit of muscle, I suppose, and then through the middle is this huge gut. And all they want to do is process vast quantities of food. Why? Well, simple, because they want to go through their life cycle as quickly as possible. I suppose that's why they make such a mess of my plant, eh?
But some gardeners grow plants just to satisfy the insatiable appetite of an extraordinary caterpillar. These caterpillars are incredibly hungry. In their lifetime, 1 pound of baby caterpillars would chew their way through nearly 12 tons of mulberry leaves. But having gorged themselves, these caterpillars do something amazing with their spit. For these caterpillars are silkworms. They use modified salivary glands to spin a cocoon of silk. So, next time you're wearing a piece of dried caterpillar spit, just remember where it came from.
The caterpillar may be the world's most extreme glutton, but at least it only eats leaves. Coming up next is an animal that likes eating us. This nightmare of nature comes from the 16th most popular episode in the countdown. It's an animal that was so scary, we made it our #1 most extreme horror.
Not all scary animals have to be huge and hairy. A single drop of water can be full of man-eating monsters.
They came from everywhere. Millions of writhing, seething creatures oozing out of the mire to feed on human flesh.
Don't think this is just some B-movie plotline. There really are horrific worms that hunt us down. In the tropics, be afraid of the blood fluke. The larval stage of this parasitic worm will burrow through your skin to get into your bloodstream. This little horror heads to the blood vessels near your bladder. Adults can live up to 30 years, constantly laying eggs that are so spiny they can rupture your bladder wall on the way to the outside world. Our nightmares may be full of huge, ferocious beasts, but the scariest things live inside our bodies. Some live inside our gut, just waiting to feast on the food we send down to them every day. The roundworm Ascaris is as thick as a pencil and twice as long. It's found inside 1 out of every 4 people on the planet. And the scariest thing is that you might never know that these worms are inside you. Usually you only find out when the worm gets upset and decides it's time to leave the body. But other worms cause trouble because they get stuck in our body. These filarial worms are as thin as sewing thread and as long as your finger. They live coiled up inside your lymph glands, feeding on your body fluids. The trouble is, all these worms curled up can block fluid movement. And that's how we can get the gross swellings known as elephantiasis. How'd you like a limb the same size, shape, and color as an elephant's leg? There's nowhere on your body that worms can't reach. There's even a worm that's at home in your heart. Heartworms are usually parasites of your pet dog, but sometimes they'll move house and live inside your heart, feeding on your blood.
If you find the thought of parasites being so popular a little hard to swallow, be afraid, because even more people watch the show coming in at number 15 in the countdown. The killer that fought its way past all contenders was so ferocious that we had no choice but to make it the most extreme predator.
Even B-grade movie makers could recognize the killing power of the most extreme predator in the countdown, the shrew.
What is that?
It's a Sorex cericidae.
Looks like a small rat.
Shrews as small as rats, perfect for scientific experiments, until they began to grow and grow into things.
They must eat 3 times their own weight in food every 24 hours.
The shrews were out there. I couldn't take a chance.
Blood-curdling, horrifyingly poisonous monsters.
Okay, so shrews are not really man-killers, but they really are extreme predators. No other animal has to kill so often. Shrews may be the smallest mammals on Earth, but they have a massive appetite. Armed with poisonous saliva, they can paralyze prey even if it's 20 times their size. A keen sense of smell and a bunch of whiskers help them find their way to the kill. Shrews are constantly hunting because they have to consume at least their own body weight in food each day to fuel their incredibly fast metabolism. The heart of an elephant shrew beats 9 times faster than a human's. That's an incredible 600 times a minute as it races around looking for food. In comparison, an elephant's heart beats on an average only 25 times a minute. Given the shrew's frantic lifestyle, it's no surprise that it needs vast amounts of energy to survive. Weight for weight, a shrew burns through 100 times more oxygen than an elephant, because a lot of energy goes into just staying warm. If a shrew died, it would cool down in minutes because it quickly loses heat over its relatively huge surface area. Compare that to a dead elephant that might take days to cool down. To put it another way, if a shrew had the slow metabolic rate of an elephant, it would need fur a yard thick to keep warm. But the shrew doesn't have big fur. It has a big appetite to power its extraordinary metabolism. One kind of shrew has to eat up to 3 times its own weight in food every 24 hours. That means to keep pace, an adult human would have to eat 1,920 hamburgers each day.
Sure you won't have one? Delicious.
Unfortunately, in America today, some people are eating like they have the shrew's metabolism. According to the American Heart Association, more than 30% of adults are clinically obese. Part of the problem seems to be that Americans have lost their predatory lifestyle. Once, humans had to burn off body fat hunting their food. Now, the only exercise they get is walking around the supermarket. Life would be so much easier for shrews if they could visit a supermarket. Instead, the only way the shrew can get all the calories it needs to survive is to be the busiest hunter in the world.
So far, we've seen savage shrews, wiggling worms, and crazy caterpillars. But our countdown of the most popular episodes of The Most Extreme continues with a killer that forces a grown man to wear pantyhose, and a hunter that homes in on the electricity generated every time you move a muscle. That's next.